Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So I filmed this video today in hopes that I would get my hair and my makeup done, and I did both, and I'm super excited. So I got some new hair from Amazon Prime. This makeup look is just a neutral look you can wear every day. So if you're interested in seeing how the look comes about, I don't know if I'm gonna post this in 2 parts or what, but just kind of stay tuned, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye. So getting started with my makeup, y'all, I'm gonna start off with this Kiss New York top brow gel. It's a clear brow gel. I'm just gonna go in and put this in my brows and comb everything straight up. I'm not sure what kind of look I'm doing today, but I'm feeling like it might be neutral. I definitely want to use my Anastasia Soft Glam palette, and then whatever else comes along with that, we shall see. But I'm just taking this and combing this throughout the hairs to kind of give them that naturally blown out kind of look. Another thing I want to focus on also today is like flawless foundation or flawless like base. So I'm going to kind of show you a few of the things that I do to make sure that my skin looks as great as it can look. So I'm using my e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer. This is a dupe for the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. Before you do anything else, make sure your skin is cleansed, moisturized, and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna take this primer, and it smells so good, y'all. It smells like watermelon-y, so good. And I'm just gonna go in and work that into my skin. As you can see, I don't have perfect ideal skin. I do have acne, I have hyperpigmentation, and my face is hairy. So first and foremost, if your skin routine, like your without makeup, if your skin routine is not on point, then your makeup is never gonna look as good as it can look. So that's the very first thing. Make sure you have a great skin routine. That's the most basics. Once you cover that, girl, that foundation will get better. I do have acne from when I do come on my dot. So it is that time of the month, and I have more breakouts than normal. But I mean, again, I'm gonna work through all that, just kind of show you a few things that help me to get the most flawless look I can get. Right now, I'm just going in and filling in my brows. I do have a brow routine already posted on my channel. I'll link it in the cards up above if you want to check that out. My brow routine is very simple because if you watch the video, you'll see. But like, I have a lot of brow hair, so I don't need to do a lot. The concealer that I'm using today is my Adrian concealer. It's in the color tan. I'm just gonna go in and put that underneath my brow. Pretty Vulgar concealer is in the shade number 124, shade for days, if you are close to my skin tone and would like my reference. This brush that I'm using is a Wet n Wild brush. It's a concealer brush that I just picked up from the Dollar Tree. Gives me a lot of control for like the precision of my brow. And I do like to do my brows while my primer is kind of like settling into my skin. I feel like it helps with the finish. Going back in with my brow gel just to further set the brows. Make sure they are nice and in place. Once my brows are done, I like to go straight into doing my eyes. So I'm gonna take my P. Louise base in number 5, and I'm going to take a small like little blender. Got this from Walmart in a set. And I'm just gonna use that to dab onto the eye space. You can use concealer if you like, whatever you have on hand, just use that and get your base set. But I'm not gonna go in with powder on top of this. I'm just gonna use this alone because for me, it doesn't crease very much, so it doesn't require me to set it with a powder. All right, so now that my primer has dried down, it's probably been about a minute, if that. I'm gonna go in with my palette today. I'm using the Soft Glam by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I'm gonna use Mulberry first as my darkest shade, and then I think I'm gonna blend that out with either Sienna or Rustic. I'll be sure to insert the clips in between, but first shade, second, and then I'm going to use burnt orange on my eyelid because I think I'm going for an all matte look, maybe with a little bit of glitter. So I'm taking a fluffy brush. This is Morphe M575. I'm gonna go right in with mulberry, and I'm gonna start by placing that into my crease. So as I'm deepening this up, I want my eyes to look a little elongated. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that mulberry shade and I'm flicking it back. So it's kind of like doing your eyeshadow in like a S kind of motion, like slow motion. It will look like this, blending it out. And I'm just going in and deepening up that shade also while creating this shape on my eyelid. Now what I'm doing is taking the remainder of what concealer I had left for my brows, and all I'm doing is going in and creating some space on the eyelid while keeping that same shape, so that way I can go in with a very light toned color. And now I'm gonna take that same brush, my blending brush, to just kind of go in and wipe off any excess concealer. Going in with burnt orange on a e.l.f. eyeshadow brush. I'm just going to use that right on top. Once I've got all those colors placed on, as per usual, I'll go in and I will make sure everything is nicely blended. All right, now that I'm pretty okay with what my eyes look like, I'm gonna go in with my liner, mascara and lashes, and then we'll be back to finish the face. Okay, so now that lashes are on, sorry, my lips are dry. I'm gonna go in and start with the face. I am going to re-prime, because I've spent so much time like doing my eyes and stuff that I feel like my primer is a little dry down. And I just want a little bit of extra. So, I mean, it's not very much. You can barely see that. I'm gonna take a little bit of that and go back in right in my T-zone. My T-zone, or your T-zone, is a T in the middle of your face. This is where I tend to get oily because I have combination skin. So I'm gonna go in and just add a little bit more primer. And also, if you have issues with texture, like if you have really large pores, like a lot of people tend to have, mine tend to live right here, you can take a very thick eyeshadow base. The MAC paint pots work wonderful for this. You can take a little bit of that. This is the color Groundwork. It's a little bit of like a shimmer color. You can take that and you can press that right into your large pores. So I'm gonna do that just to give me a little extra coverage for when I go in and try to put on my foundation. So this next step I'm gonna do is gonna be great for my oily girls. If you have combination skin, this will work fine too. But if you have dry skin, you might want to cautiously take this next step, okay? So I'm gonna go in with some translucent powder. This is by Laura Mercier. And I'm gonna go in and I'm going to set my primer, okay? This is gonna like give me like a micro finish or a micro smooth finish over my face. So if you have texture or oily skin, like I said, this might be a very helpful tip for you. I learned this from Jackie Aina. She does this whenever she does her makeup and her skin always looks flawless. So I'm gonna try that. I'm just gonna take a little bit of powder on this sponge and I'm going to dab that into my face. You do want your sponge to be moist or pre-wet to give you the best finish. And this kind of gives me like a little bit of coverage as far as color, but mostly I'm using it to smooth my skin out. So I'm gonna put this where I have my largest pores, where I just set that MAC paint pot. And I'm trying to come in close so that way you can kind of see the finish that it gives and kind of hide a little bit more of the texture in my skin. So also right here in the center of my forehead, I tend to get super oily. I'm gonna just place a little bit of powder there. So the next thing I'm gonna do is gonna be for my dry skin girls. I like to do this because it helps to like give me like a little surge of moisture. So I like to go in with a setting spray or some sort of finishing spray, makeup spray, whatever you want to call it. I like to go in and spray that on top of my face before I put my foundation on, and then go in and apply my foundation. I do let the spray dry in between this step, so that way when I'm going in, I'm not like completely smudging foundation on top of everything else that I already previously set. So while that dries down, today I'm going to be trying a new foundation. This is the Becca Ultimate Coverage Foundation in the color Sienna. I got this in my BoxyCharm box. I don't know that it's gonna be my right shade, but you know, whatever, we're gonna try it. If you have issues with hyperpigmentation, I would suggest you go in and color correct. Color correcting just gets rid of any significant problem you have. Redness, dark spots, hyperpigmentation, as I've previously mentioned. So one of my favorite color correctors is by LA Girls. So LA Girl Pro Concealer in the orange corrector shade. You can get really whatever kind of color corrector you want, but if you have an issue with dark spots, orange is going to be your color. Orange cancels out the dullness. So I'm going to go in with this. That facial spray is pretty much dried already, so I'm just going to go in with a little bit of this. I use my finger to tap this in. You can use a brush or you can use a sponge, whatever you desire. But this is most important for me to apply right around my chin area, because I do have a lot of hyperpigmentation, because I do have a hairy face. So I just use this to go in and help me use less foundation when it's time to apply it. And also around my mouth, and then help with coverage. All right, so for my chin, since I've got such a large space I gotta cover, I go in with a brush. This is my e.l.f. Powder brush, and I just buff that into my face. All right, so since color correction, I don't know if you can tell, but my face appears a little bit less like discolored, so you can't really, you can still see some of my blemishes, but my dark spots have been like kind of erased. Next, I'm gonna go right in with the foundation. As mentioned before, this is Becca's Ultimate Coverage 24-Hour Foundation in the shade Sienna. I'm going to place it on my little mixing palette first. A lot thicker than what I would normally go for, but I think it's supposed to be full coverage. So I'm gonna take it and apply a few dots around my face. And then we're gonna go in and buff that in. I think today I'll use a sponge to buff in my foundation, but you can obviously use whatever you have. Okay, this is out of my BoxyCharm box. I don't know the brand of it, but I'm gonna use that to buff in my foundation. I feel like with a sponge, you'll get a little bit more coverage, and I know it seems kind of like counterintuitive because your sponge is wet and you would think that it soaks in more product, but I feel like it's kind of the opposite. This sponge, I don't know what texture it is. It seems like a little bit of silicone-y. I really don't know the texture, but anywho, I'm using that because to me this has more coverage because it's sitting on top of my skin and it's not really soaking in a ton of product. So I'm just gonna go in and finish patting this in. And if I was doing my makeup every day, it probably would not be with a sponge, just because I feel like a sponge is more time consuming. However, the finish a little more flawless. I feel like a little more airbrushy. But either way, what I'm gonna do once this is all like blended down is I'm gonna go in with the foundation brush and go over everything, because it kind of helps with the blend in the end. Now I'm gonna go in with my concealer today. I'm using my Tarte Shape Tape in Deep. I'm just using a little bit of concealer to give my face some dimension so my face is not so flat. Foundation will help to even out your skin tone, provide coverage, and make sure you're one color essentially. So highlighting goes in to kind of make the face look more normal, have some dimension. I'm gonna let the concealer under my eyes dry down just a bit so that way it's a lot more full coverage. Just because I do have some dark kind of areas underneath my eyes, girl. That's from hard work, okay? I'm not ashamed of my dark spots, but we do have them. So while I'm putting on this makeup and this full face, I might as well get rid of them. So once everything's all blended down, I'm gonna go in immediately and set my areas with a little bit of powder. And I'm gonna be using the color number 30, medium deep. I'm going in with my same sponge. It is already wet. I'm just gonna go in and apply that powder everywhere that I have highlighted areas. If you don't want such a stark highlight, then use a darker, more flesh tone powder, obviously. A little something closer to your skin tone. And if you have issues with oil, you might want to go ahead and do a light layer of this on the entire face and just kind of let it bake. I don't really like to bake. I don't really know the purpose for people that have skin like me, but I mean, if that's what you like to do, then go ahead and do that. But for me, I just like to pat the powder in, kind of move on. So I'm just gonna tap out my under eye concealer. And I'm just pressing my powder in because, again, I don't really bake. But if you're oily and you need to bake, go ahead and do that. If you're oily, also, what you might need to do is make sure your skincare routine is on point. Like your skin might be really dehydrated, so it's overproducing oil. So if you have an issue where you are breaking through all your makeup, like you might just need to make sure that your skin by itself is not super oily because it's missing something, basically. I feel like when I was younger, my skin was really oily, but I started using a oil at nighttime with my night skin routine, and like somehow my skin magically, not even magically, my skin just stopped being so oily. I feel like it was missing that one step. So to go and just add a little bit more like dimension to my face, and because this sponge has a flat end, what I'm gonna do is take a little powder, dip it on the end like so, and I'm gonna go underneath where I would normally bronze my skin and just put a little bit of powder here to kind of set and kind of give me like a little bit of a reverse contour effect. I'm still gonna go in with bronzer on my face though, just because I love bronzer. Going in with my powder brush. This is what I used to blend down my color corrector earlier. I'm just gonna try to get rid of some of this excess powder. So if you're a dry skin girl, I don't recommend you doing this part. This step is like gonna be overkill. Your face is gonna look like snake skin from being so dry. But go in and wipe some of this line away by dragging down. And then I'll go in with my bronzer, like on the perimeter of my face. So after I contour, I like to go in with blush. I'm using my MAC Swiss Chocolate blush. It's a very neutral tone, like kind of berryish, but very nutty brown kind of color. Super pretty. I'm gonna put that on the apples of my cheek. And after this, we're gonna do a layer of spray. Spray is one of my go-tos when I am doing my foundation because it kind of helps to blend everything all together. It kind of helps all the powder that I've used melt and give me a more flawless look. My left lash is really giving me the blues today. Like it will not stay down on the inner corner. Don't know why, but it's tripping. While that's drying down, I like to go in and remove any really hard lines that I see immediately. in particular these right here on my cheeks, because I don't like a super harsh kind of contour. I'm just going with this and do that. If you need to, you can also spray your brush down just a bit to help with the blending process. I'm gonna go in with my highlighter next. I'm using this Carly Bible palette. This is the All BH Cosmetics palette with Carly Bible. I'm just gonna use that to mix a few shades. I'm probably gonna take these darker browns here, bronzy shades, and just kind of mix those together. Because I mean, you can do whatever kind of highlight you like, whether you want it to blind people or not. That's your call. All right, so I'm gonna go up and finish the eyes. Now that I have my highlighter on with this Rimmel London nude eyeshadow or nude eyeliner, I'm just gonna put that on my waterline, put a little bit of mascara on, and then I'm debating on whether or not I want to put an inner corner highlight. I mean, I do, but I think I'm gonna put this pigment on my inner corner called Celebration, just to kind of give the eyes a little bit more shine, because they're very neutral. They're very pretty, but like super neutral. You can totally leave it at this if this is what you like, but I think I'm gonna go in and spruce it up, and then I'll be right back when I'm done. All right, so I just went in with that eyeliner, put some mascara on, and put that gold pigment by this brand, Bella Pierre, underneath my eye a little bit. I'm gonna go in with the NYX lip pencil in Espresso, and this Laura Mercier lipstick in Bridget. I'm gonna go in with my setting spray one final time. Now that I've got the lips on, that will be the whole look. I think this is very pretty, very girly. So I'll come back with my hair fixed and we'll roll the outro.